Hello. So wanted to do a guide about the best masters for Urshin. Obviously in Breath of Fire 4, masters are a big deal, and they increase, like I said, they change like what your stat growths are. They affect your stat growths. If different masters have different stat growths. Like for example, the first master you get is gonna be Rolf, and what he does, he increases AP and wisdom, but lowers attack every level. This is your level up bonus, changes like on level up, you'll gain an extra AP and extra wisdom for and lose its attack. So pretty much every master has different stats affect how they affect their stats. So this is so if you're trying to like get the most out of your characters, knowing which master to put your characters under matters a lot. So in most games, like for Ershin, like you might not realize this early on because it's just kind of like Ershin. Ershin, like they kind of their role changes like pretty much halfway through the game. If you look at their abilities, right, early on you'll have risky shot, and then you'll get wild shot, eventually stand out. This one attracts enemies' attention. Like Urshin's kind of tanky, like they have generally pretty good HP and defense growth naturally. But then you start like around like level 20 or so, like in the 20s, you'll start gaining like all these high level spells. Like you pretty much get all like the best spells in the game. And so this makes Ershin primarily a mage. Ershin, unlike some of the other characters, Ershin does not get any like two-hit weapons. So in the long run, making Ershin a fighter just doesn't really have many benefits to it. And you're just better off just trying to maximize Urshin's mage potential, just because they'll naturally get all these high level spells. And if you want to make the most of them, obviously you need Urshin to have high wisdom and the AP to cast them. So yeah, so like when you get your masters, like pretty much every game, the first master you're gonna meet is Rolf. Like these are like he's the first one you'll meet. Usually you'll meet Stoll second. Like I said, there's not a lot of reason to put Urshin or Stoll. Speed's okay, but like AP, getting a bit of AP and wisdom in the early game's fine. Like the Rolf doesn't have particularly great stat gains, so when you meet Una, it is totally fine to switch Urshin to Una for even though for a few levels, and that's the reason I'm gonna tell you why is if you like, let me put up Urshin's stat growth chart. Like, so stats you gain on level are based on specific levels. So on level like 16, on level 17, 18, 19, Urshin gains 0 AP for those levels. There is no AP to gain. So if you're under Una, you're not losing AP. There's no AP to lose those levels because you can't get a negative amount. So those stat gains there are kind of free pretty much until level 20. Ershin has very little AP growth until level 25. Ershin has very little wisdom growth. Like at level 25, Ershin gets 4 wisdom. And that's pretty much every level beyond that. Ershin gets wisdom. Some levels even like 10 wisdom. So that's when Ershin starts becoming a mage. So really it's like till level 20, there's not a lot of downside to being under Una. Like even if it's just for a couple levels, like you can switch to Neomo when Neomo becomes available. Neomo adds speed and AP. Like Urshin's on the slower end. I mean, they're not like crippling slow, but a few levels under Neomo is not too bad, and will give you a couple more points of AP. Like I said, Rolf, you could just stay under Rolf for a bit and then until you get Abyss. Because Abyss is gonna be where you're gonna be under on Urshin for pretty much the whole game after you get her, at least for most playthroughs. Like there's just not a lot of reason to do much else. But in the mid game, like I said, like in the early-ish game when you have you can do Rolf till Una, like I said, the stat gains, because Urshin's not gaining much AP or wisdom anyway, those levels, those stat gains, like extra HP, the extra defense is pretty much free. And in the early game, you're probably going to rely on Urshin's attack power a little bit more, so getting a bit of extra early attack power in those early game parts is not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, you like I said, but if you if you want to maximize wisdom, you could just stick under Rolf till Abyss is there. But usually I would be Rolf till Una and then Una till Abyss. Though you could do Rolf till Una, then Una till Neoma, and then till Abyss. But generally that's what you're gonna be. You're just gonna be under Abyss for most of the game under Ershin. Pretty much the only alternative here would be Kryrick, and this is for like stat maxing. Like this for normal gameplay, you just want to do this, but Kryrick, he has the best HP and defense. So those are the two hardest stats to raise. Like, so if you're trying to like go for like a perfect save, Kryrik is generally going to be the best one in the long run. So in a perfect save, you're going Rolf to Una, and then Una until Kryrik. If you're trying for like stat maxing or perfect save type deal. But yeah, generally, if you're not doing that though, there's no real reason to ever have Ershin or Kryrik. Abyss pretty much the whole game as soon as she becomes available. It is just generally the way to go. Like I said, I mean, on my last playthrough, I got Abyss at level 20. On Ershin was level 20 when we switched her under Abyss, and we're level 40 after at the end game. So we end up with 140 AP and 244 Wisdom, which is not bad. Obviously not quite where Nina would be. Nina has 322 Wisdom, but still, that is still pretty good. And still, like, Ershin's a tank, has still way more HP than most of my other characters. Like, you look at everybody else, like Ershin has almost as much HP as Ryu, and that's despite being under Abyss for, like I said, we were under Abyss for a bit. Like, you know, like I said, their natural AP growth is pretty good. Don't even really need the HP from Una, so... But it is, like I said, the stats are kind of free, so there's not a real downside to it either. Defense-wise, Ershin's armors actually don't add a whole lot of defense, so... But they kind of just have, like, naturally high defense, even with the Abyss dropping it, we're at 207. So, like, Nina's at 190 with, like, Abyss, so... Like, yeah, like, so it's actually not too bad. There's just not a lot of reason to not have Ershin under Abyss for most of the game. We had a normal playthrough. Like I said, stat maxing, and as I've mentioned in other videos, if you are, like... go to like a Manila shop in some of these, like, so a lot of these towns have Manila shops where you can buy stat boosting items, but not for HP or defense. Like, if you go to any of these shops, you can trade items, like which buy items. You can trade your fish you've caught for items. You'll get stamps when you do so, and every time you get 20 stamps, you will get a stamp card, and then you can trade those stamp cards for items. 3 stamp cards lets you get a magic shard, power food, swallow eye, or fish head. So magic card raises AP, power food raises attack, swallow eye raises agility, and fish heads raise wisdom. So yeah, you can't buy the HP up or defense up items from Manila, so raising those stats is a lot harder. So if you're going for stat maxing, you just do Kryrik. Like I said, you do Una till Kryrik's available, and just do Kryrik the rest of the game, because that's the easiest way to gain those stats. Because trying to farm the other items is kind of a pain. So whereas like you fishing up a bunch of, like, getting like a bunch of easy to catch fish that you can in a river that you can add up really quickly, you can get a lot of these stamp cards. Not too, like, that's relatively fast, I mean, as far as like that goes. So yeah, like I said, that's the only thing to consider. The only reason you wouldn't do Abyss as soon as she becomes available on Ershin is because you're stat maxing. But for most people, just do Rolf till like Una, and then Una till Abyss, or even just Rolf till Abyss, and you'll be fine. Like, Ershin, like I said, becomes a really good mage, has all the high level spells, and yeah, not too much more to say on this one. If you like this video, I have another one about Nina if you're interested in knowing about her best masters, and you can find that one down below. As always, thank you for watching.